I'll let Imam Didmar talk about the chapter of Tawakkul, complete and perfect reliance and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we need. Definitely all of us as Muslims, we need this at this present difficult time as Muslims, that trusting Allah ta'ala and having only fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nobody else, inshallah.
Thank you, Dr. Mirza. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa afdalu salati wa atammu taslim ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa ufawwidu amri ila Allah. Inna Allah basirun bil ibad. Wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي رب زدني علما وفهما وألحقني بالصالحين رب يسر ولا تعسر رب تمم بالخير آمين. I think it was about a year ago when we started talking about this topic, but as Dr. Mirza mentioned, there were things going on in between, and we didn't have a chance to sit together and to talk about these topics found in the book of Imam al-Qushayriyyah called The Principles of Tasawwuf or Sufism, or in the Arabic language, Al-Risālah al-Qushayriyyah fi ilm al-Tasawwuf. And we covered, alhamdulillah, I believe it was most of the chapter was covered last time, so this time we're going to cover the remaining of that chapter that talks on trust in God or reliance on God. These are two different interpretations that are given to the word at-Tawakkul ala Allah, reliance or trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Trust in God, as we mentioned earlier, it is not something that is rarely used in the Quran. Rather, it is all over the Quran mentioned. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ وَتَوَكَّلُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ. You know, there are different forms of this word being used in the Quran, all suggesting that we as believers must rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of the famous ayahs is وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. The one who relies, the one who puts his trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God is sufficient for him. So he doesn't need anyone else to really provide for him, because God subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of his affairs, will take care of his needs. The concept of tawakkul, the concept of trust in God, how should it be for a Muslim? You know, okay, you trust in God, you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how? Sometimes people, they have a wrong concept. They would say, you know, you have these in the Muslim world where they don't do nothing. قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. You know, God subhanahu wa ta'ala did whatever He wanted to do, and I'm in this situation because this is the qadr of Allah. This is the will of God. And they remain not only in poverty, but they're not even able to provide for themselves and to provide for their family, and also to fulfill their obligations that they have. Remember, you have an obligation to take care of yourself, but you also have, as a married person, husband or wife, you have also responsibilities, you have duties for your own, for your partner. So to say that I'm not going to fulfill those duties because, you know, I'm just waiting for Allah to give me and I'm not going to put that into action, that is a misconception of what tawakkul, of what trust in God is, according to Islam. But also the other misconception that exists out there is when you rely completely on yourself and you say, okay, God has given me the power, so I just have to do everything, and you look, you know, you're 24/7 just relying on the means. Or in other words, relying on the creation of God to create your future, or to be the main sustainers of yours. And we have people like them, you know, in our families, neighbors, relatives, you name it. Their whole, you know, if you ask them what is your objective in life, they will mention to you right away something that is related to the means of this world. They completely forget about the other objectives, or the main objective, which is the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the pleasure of God, attaining paradise, and all of these. So when you don't have that mindset, of looking forward for the hereafter, looking forward for the pleasure of God, looking forward for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to meet you happy as you would wish you to be happy in front of Him. When these concepts are not there, then you're going to completely depend on the means. You're going to, your focus is all dunya, materialism. And that's what, there is a strong relation between you and the dunya. You think that that's the main provider for you. That's the motive, that's everything for you. What I just said earlier, this is not the right concept for the believer. Ibn Qayyim, he wrote in the book of medicine, he mentions a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam where you have some companions coming to him and saying, "O Prophet of God, should we seek medicine?" And the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, "O servants of God, لِكُلِّ دَاءٍ دَوَاءٍ." For every sickness, for every disease, there is a cure. Therefore, seek the medicine. Look for medications, But remember that this is what Allah provides you. He is the main provider. He is the one that you rely on Him to give you the cure and to give you even, the medication. Another scholar, Sheikh Muhammad Ratib al-Nabulsi, which is a very famous contemporary scholar nowadays, Syrian scholar who resides in Jordan but travels all over the world to spread the teachings of Islam. When he talks about the tawakkul, he has a lot of talks, about tawakkul. So he says, relying or trusting in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to take these means as they are everything for you. In other words, put your most effort. When you do something, put all of your effort into doing that. But then when you finish putting the effort, when that is over, then rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as that is nothing. So you completely forget about it because you have done your best and leave it right there. Let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take it. Whatever the outcome is going to be, whatever the future is going to be out of that, it is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have to be satisfied with the result. Do your best to do that, but at the end, leave it, when you finish, leave it as it is nothing. Leave it as it is nothing, and it is in the hands of God to, decide what's going to happen with that you already put the effort in. The first scholar here that is mentioned in الرسالة القشيرية is Abu Yaqub al-Basri. Abu Yaqub al-Basri is one of the great hadith scholars, and also he was a Sufi as well, a great mystic, who Imam Abu Dawood, one of the main compilers of the hadith, narrates from him. Imam Tirmidhi also was one of the students. Al-Bazzar, another compiler of the hadith, also very famous. So he was a big scholar in the discipline of hadith. It is relayed from him that one time I went hungry for 10 days in the sacred mosque in Mecca. And I felt weak, and myself tempted me. So I went into the river valley that I might find something to abate my weakness. I saw a discarded turnip lying on the ground and picked it up. I felt a frightening agitation in my heart from that, as if someone were saying to me, "You are hungry for 10 days, and now your lot is a rotten turnip." So you're hungry, you're going 10 days without food, and then now all of a sudden, after having so much patience, being in the sacred place, in the house of God, now all of a sudden, you're going to end that with a turnip? And then, as I was saying this to myself, he says, I throw it down, entered the mosque area, and sat. Then a Persian appeared. He sat before me and put down a satchel, saying, "This is for you." I asked him, "Why have you chosen me for this?" He told me, "Know that we were at sea for 10 days, and one time the ship was on the brink of capsizing. Each one of us made a vow that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved us, He would give us something as charity. So if we get saved, each one of us will give something in charity. I vow that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved me, I would give this to the first person my eyes fell upon among those living near the mosque. And you are the first one that I have met. Then I instructed him, open it. He opened it, and inside were Egyptian sesame cakes, shelled almonds, and cubed sweet meats. Pretty much it's like a dream come true. For 10 days you're eating nothing, and all of a sudden you see, a piece of paradise right in front of you to satisfy your hunger. It's not about the food. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dealing with a true servant. How is He bringing another person from nowhere? He's saying a Persian who came out of the, he was traveling the sea, and then all of a sudden he appears right in front of me with all of these, sweet, this good delicious food. I took some of each and said, take the remainder to your young man. It was my gift to you, for I have accepted yours. Then I told myself, he says, your sustenance was on the way to you for 10 days, and you were looking for it in the river valley. Now, another point here that I need to make for a story like this one, we find a lot of stories that are related to food, and these mystics staying for days and days without eating anything. And in most of the cases, it is a miracle, because we have some of them who went for over 40 days without eating anything, and it is clearly because from the medical point of view, you can't survive for that long, for even probably months. There were some who fasted like that without putting any food in their mouth. So it is true karamah. It is a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has bestowed upon these awliya, these saints. Now, it doesn't say that they never ate. We have to take this not out of the context. Within the context, we have to understand what's happening with these stories. If they would deny eating completely, then they would have probably died, or we have no stories of these saints who remain for the rest of their life just, without eating and drinking and without trying to put food in their own bodies. But according to most of these stories, it seems that these saints, they had no means at that time. They didn't have Circle K's all over the place, or Fry's, or places with convenience stores where they can get food. It was a different time when you had to travel probably for days in order to get food, and when you get food, you get it for a week or for 2 weeks or a month, provision, and then you have to travel back again. Now, they're not choosing. These are the situations that they are in. When they were in these kind of situations, they decide, to let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of everything pretty much. Because nothing is in their hands, they're putting their full trust 100% in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you talk about food, it is kind of more irrelevant to the human mind, because you're talking about food, everybody, goes like, oh, okay, I understand what it is talking about. When you get to other spiritual aspects, then it becomes a little bit more kind of complicated. So that's why we have so many of these stories that are related to food, where you see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking care of them directly by sending other people to take care of these people who are in need. Imam al-Qushayriyyah also puts a statement here from Abdullah ibn Mubarak. من أخذ فلوسا بحرام فليس بمتوكل. Whoever receives a single penny from an illicit source is not trusting in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever is earning money, the money that is coming to him is from an illicit source, from a haram source, then he is not a mutawakkil. He is not somebody who puts his trust in God. And that is so true. That is so true. Nowadays you have people who, in order to make the living, and this is very popular all over the world, including our countries, the Muslim countries, in order for them to have a certain thing in life, in order for them to have a successful business, they get into illicit business. They know that it is haram what they're doing. They know that they are cheating somebody. They know that they are lying to somebody. They know that they are putting expired products in the shelves there. Even here, you go to some Muslim stores, you find products. You feel like not even going because you're not sure whether it is expired or not expired. Sometimes the expiration date is erased. Sometimes they even put another expiration date on top of what it used to be in order to sell their products, even though the product is already expired. This is just a very simple example that I'm giving you, but there are so many things that Muslims, they get themselves engaged with. And what is this? This is simply saying that, I need to make the money, so no matter what it takes, I'm going to make the money and that's it. But if a person trusts in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that person will do his best to live a life of halal, pure life. And all of the sources, all the income, including the food and the clothing and everything else, he expects that or she expects that to be from a reliable source and from a pure source. That is a person who really depends on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he expects Allah. If I'm not supposed to make this $1,000 that I want to make it, if I cannot make it from a halal way, that is my risk right there. That is my sustenance right there that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. And I should feel happy with that sustenance. I should try to do my best, but whatever I receive, alhamdulillah, I am happy, I am pleased. And if I cannot receive that, I'm pleased with that as well. Whether I receive or I don't receive, I'm pleased. It is not meant for me. So that is, as I said again, the true tawakkul, the true trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other example that is given here is by Abu Sa'id al-Kharraz. Abu Sa'id al-Kharraz is also another great Sufi and also a scholar at his time. He lived around the 800s. He associated with the Nun al-Masri, for those who know about this great scholar. He also relates that I went into the desert one time with no provisions, and I was overcome by extreme need. Off in the distance, I saw a way station. So I was happy that I had arrived. Then I thought to myself, I have become complacent and I have trusted in something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I swore that I would enter the town only if I were carried to it. So again, you have one of these saints who is approaching the city there. Now all of a sudden, he sees that, and then he says, you know what, I'm going to remain here because my heart, it seems that, is depending on that, what I'm seeing right there. So if that's the case, I'm going to teach myself, my nafs, my ego, I'm going to teach a lesson. I'm going to stay here until I'm being removed from this place right here. I dug a hole for myself and covered my body with sand up to my chest. In the middle of the night, a loud clamor arose, and it was said, O people of the town, one of the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has buried himself in the sand. Find him. Then a crowd came to me and dug me out and brought me to the town. Here's another lesson that we learn. When you put that complete trust in Allah, Allah is going to cause a miracle to happen to you. Again, when you think, that there is nothing out there, and when you only hope and wish that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take care of your business, He's going to take care of you, fulfill your needs and all of that, you will definitely see the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming to you. He was trying to teach his nafs a lesson, and Allah took care of His servant. There is another story here from Abu Hamza al-Khurasani. This Imam al-Qushayriyyah narrates this from his teacher Abdul Rahman al-Sulami, a great mystic scholar as well, Mufassir and the Hadith scholar Abdul Rahman al-Sulami. He narrates to him that Abu Hamza al-Khurasani reported, I went on the pilgrimage one year. As I was walking along the road, I fell into a well. My soul urged me to call for help, but I said, no, by Allah, I will not call for help. Again, another instance when he is teaching and training himself. My soul, he says, urged me to call for help, but I said, no, by God, I will not call for help. I was scarcely finished with this thought when the two men passed by. One of them suggested to the other, come, let us block up the opening to this well so that no one may fall into it. So they were thinking, you know what, let's do something beneficial for the other people who are going to pass by the road there. Let's block this. They didn't know that there's already somebody already inside there. They came with the reeds and matting and filled up the mouth of the well with dirt. I wanted to cry out, but I told myself, I will cry to the one who is nearer than these two. وَإِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ. When you ask somebody, then ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I remained silent. After 1 hour, suddenly something came, uncovered the top of the well, and lowered its leg into it. Then it was as if I was instructed, hold on unto me. So the rope is going down the well. He says that I felt like someone was instructing me to hold on into this rope. I knew what was meant. So I held on and it pulled me out of the well. Lo and behold, it was a lion. And then it passed on. An invisible caller cried out to me, O Abu Hamza, is this not better? One peril saved you from another. So this is really a miracle that he witnessed with his own eyes, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making an animal, powerful animal, to pull him out with that rope from the well. So this is a direct hand of God for those people who submit completely against their own egos, against their own nafs. They do the taslim, in other words. Hudayfa al-Mar'ashi, who narrates this from Ibrahim bin Adham. As a matter of fact, he was a student of Ibrahim and serving Ibrahim bin Adham, rahimahullah. And for those who don't know Ibrahim bin Adham, I believe a lot of you have heard his name, but it is very important to shed some light on his personality and on his stories. He was a man who was a prince at his time. He was from the time of the Tabi'een. He also lived during the time of Abu Hanifa and all of these great scholars. Narrations on how he chose the path of tasawwuf, the path of mysticism. I can't stop talking about his life without also mentioning a very famous incident that happened during the life of Ibrahim bin Adham, when a man comes to him. Poor soul, he's looking for advice, full of sins. He says, what's going on with me? How can I get rid of disobedience, ma'asiyah? How can I get rid of that? Because I keep sinning and sinning right and left. There's no end to this. What can I do to retain myself, to restrain my ego and my nafs? So Ibrahim bin Adham, if you want, he says, don't eat from the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just find the rizq, find the sustenance somewhere else. Don't eat from what He provides you. He says, how can I do that? It's impossible, because everything that I eat comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If that's the case, he says, then okay, let me give you another option. The second option is this. Then move out of his land. Look a different place where to live that does not belong to God. And then he says, how is that possible? Everything, wherever your eye sees, everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Lahul mulk. To Him belongs the dominion of everything. All of this is His. So he says, okay, let's look at the third option. Then go to a secret place where He doesn't see you and sin over there. Involve yourself with disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, that's not possible either, because wherever I am, He sees me. He observes me. There's the ayah in the Quran that says that not even a single leaf that drops from the trees does not leave without Him knowing that. Does not drop without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knowing that. So, يَعْلَمُ السِّرِّ, He knows the secrets. He knows everything pretty much, whether it is displayed and open or it is secret. So I can go nowhere in secret and hide from Him. And then he says, okay, if that's the case, then when the angel of death comes to you and tells you that it's time to go, you tell to the angel of death, I decide not to go. And then again he says, how can I do that? It's impossible. Because كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. When the ajal comes, when that time of death comes, you can't delay that. Not even a second, not even a minute, not even a short period of time can be delayed when this departing time comes. So there is no way how I can tell to the angel of death, give me time. If that's the case, when you're getting close to the hellfire, then tell to the angels of the hellfire, leave me alone. And then again, he says, how can I do that? That's impossible, because they get the order from Allah directly. They do not disobey the orders of Allah, and they carry whatever God tells them to do. Enough, he said. I repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the ma'asiyah, for all the disobedience. In other words, you have proven your point. That no matter how, He's given to him a rational thought to look at it, just think about it. If you really believe in Him, and if you believe that everything belongs to Him and it's going to happen whatever He wishes, then there is no reason for you why to continue committing sins. And it's impossible for all of us definitely to stay away from sin, because none of us is completely pure out of sin. None of us is ma'soom, from the sin. We all sin right and left, but we all try to reduce and to filter ourselves in a better way. So perhaps this man was involved so much into sin, and this advice of Ibrahim bin Adham rahimahullah wa radiyallahu anhu was a great advice, that it served not only him but all of us. When we are engaged in our worldly life and we come across sins and we sin and all of that, we should remember these things, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is observing us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify us, inshallah, make us from those who sin less and less. So, I will go on and finish with the story of Ibrahim bin Adham here, that Imam al-Qushayriyyah mentioned in his book here. From Hudayfa al-Mar'ashi, who had been serving and accompanying Ibrahim bin Adham, was asked, what is the strangest thing you witnessed with him, with Ibrahim bin Adham? He answered, we had been on the road to Mecca for some days and had not found any food. We came into Kufa, in Iraq, and sought shelter in a ruined mosque. Ibrahim bin Adham looked at me and observed, O Hudayfa, I see in you the marks of hunger. I replied, it is as the Shaykh sees. So it is true what you're seeing, I'm really hungry. He instructed, bring me an inkwell and paper. So I brought them, and he wrote, in the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful, you are the one desired in every state, and the one indicated in every sign. And then he went on, Ana Hamid, أنا شاكر أنا ذاكر أنا جائع أنا نائع أنا عاري هي ستة وأنا الضمين لنصفها فكن الضمين لنصفها يا باري. This was written in his paper, which means I am praising, I'm thankful, I'm invoking your name. So he's mentioning these three qualities. I am praising, I'm a praising servant. I'm thankful, I'm invoking your name. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, and I'm naked. These three other qualities. So together, 3 and 3, 6. That makes 6 qualities and I will be a surety for half of them. So be the surety for the other half, O Creator. So look at this. I am going to be sure, I'm going to take care of 3 of these things that I'm mentioning here. You please take care of the other 3. The writing continues, asking 2 for me is like the fire. I don't want to ask because you know my situation. These scholars and the mystics, they let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of their situation. They are even, shy to ask Him for help. Even though there is nothing wrong asking Allah, definitely that's all good. But they have reached this point where they even feel shy of asking because they are so close to Him. You see my situation, you know me, I know, I get into conversation with you in daily basis. I am so close to you, you know me. Why do I need to tell you that? Asking 2 for me is like the fire. So please, do not compel me to enter the fire. He handed me the sheet of paper that he wrote, and he commanded me to go out and do not attach your heart to anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So go outside, but your heart has to be connected with the Creator. Give this paper to the first one you meet. I went, and the first one I met was a man on a mule. So I gave him the paper. He took it and wept, started crying. He asked, where was the one who had written it? I told him, he is in such and such mosque. He gave me a bag filled with 600 dinars. Then I met another man and asked him who the man on the mule was. He told me that he was a Christian. I came to Ibrahim ibn Adham, for he is on his way here. So this companion going back to Ibrahim and saying, this is what I encountered. So he said, do not touch it, for he is on his way here. The first person who was going to read that is going to appear in his presence. After an hour, the Christian man appeared, bent over Ibrahim bin Adham's head to kiss him, and became a Muslim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our tawakkul on Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open up our minds to the truth. May Allah open our hearts to sincerity and to our minds to sincerity, and make us from those servants of His who learn from these stories of these saints and they try to establish them in their daily lives. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.